Good day, YouTube, and welcome to another episode of the Albino Rhino Beer Review. We have another beautiful specialty beer here from Wellington Brewing Company for their 29th anniversary. Let's pull this here neck tag off. This is the Winey Crank. So the Winey Crank is a Cabernet Franc barrel-aged wheat beer. I've had one Cab Franc wine in my life, and it wasn't a full-on Cab Franc. It was a Cab Franc with a Cab Merlot blend. And it was interesting. I don't think I've ever had a Cab Franc barrel-aged beer. But hey, an unfiltered wheat beer aged in Cabernet Franc wine barrels for 2 months and blended with a fresh batch of dry-hopped wheat beer. A slight tart fruit flavor and aromatic grape notes come from the wine barrels. Okay, I wish you hadn't put that on there. But hey, the rest of it I really liked knowing. Turn it around here. What do we got here? Malts. 2-row pale wheat malt. 2-row pale malt and wheat malt. Hops. Nugget, Saaz, Simcoe, Citra, Nelson Sauvin. Oh, there is a bunch of... I'm not a big Citra fan. I'm not a huge Nugget fan, but I love Nelson Sauvin. I love Citra, and Saaz does it every once in a while. Yeast is the house ale yeast, the only yeast that's used in Wellington, unless the rules have changed. If you get a beer that has been contract brewed but at Wellington, it's using Wellington's house yeast. Technical specs: 5.2% alcohol, 15 IBU. For you big beer nerds that want to know, original gravity was 12 Plato. A final gravity was 2.2 Plato. Packaged on the 19th of September 2014. Today is the 24th of October 2014, so this is just over a month old. Enjoy before March 19th, 2015. I am going to preface this before I open this with, if it blows up, it is not their fault. I took this out of the fridge about 2 hours ago. It's a big 750, so I left it sitting out for 2 hours, and it was sitting here on the floor. And I came back here to get something. I came back here to get a pen out of the drawer, and I forgot it was on the floor, and I kicked it. And I kicked it about 45 minutes ago, so hopefully it's settled down, but I don't think it has. I see some head still, some carbonation still up there. So if this pops, it's not Kevin or the team at Wellington's fault. So let's put it here and just open it and hope for the love of God that it doesn't go. I thought there was a lot of smoke, there was a hiss. I thought it was coming. A little tiny touch of water left in my glass. There's still smoke coming out. That's actually pretty awesome. So, I was looking through the bottle. I did a Weiss roll, and absolutely no sediment moved when I did my Weiss roll. Now remember, this is an unfiltered beer with an unfiltered wheat beer. It was dry hopped. And all I can say is, it does not look all that unfiltered. Now, is there a bunch of sediment in here? And it just didn't look like it when I poured it? There might actually be. Now it looks like there might have been some sediment down there, because that actually looks cloudy, and this doesn't. So what we'll do is we'll do this. There is a tiny bit of haze on there. That's not chill haze, see? It's actually haze. So there is some haze on there. It's kind of looking like that, Kevin, you're not going to like me saying this, but I actually had this just recently, a few weeks or so ago. It kind of looks like dehydration pee. When you're dehydrating, your body starts peeing out things that it shouldn't pee out, such as blood. And it starts going darker and darker and darker. It kind of looks like the early on stages of dehydration pee. It's not to say it isn't a nice looking beer. I mean, that's a beautiful orangish color. Just that's the first thing that came to my mind when I picked this up, because I've seen that come out of my willy just a week or so ago. Beautiful white head, not fading. Looks a really nice smell. You know what? The smell is actually pretty subdued. I didn't expect it. Now again, I haven't had a real Cab Franc. I've had a Cab Franc blend, but what I had a lot more scent to it than this. Now, if they're using their special wheat beer, what is it? What's the Wellington regular wheat? The Wellington regular wheat beer was a good beer. The silver wheat. It came out a while back in a specialty pack. Years back, I think 4 years back, or 5 even. It was a good beer, but it didn't have much to it. So if that's the wheat beer they're using, it makes sense. I mean, there's a little bit of a grape scent, a little bit of an oaky tannin scent, and that's about it. Let's try it. Cheers. Okay, there we go. Now there's a little more haze to it. Now there's a little more haze to it. Okay, there is a bit of funk to it. There's a bit of funk. I wouldn't say there's a tartness, really. It does kind of remind me of an unsalted goza. So, I mean, a goza, it's going to be tart or it's going to be funky because of what they do with it. I mean, a goza is basically, not exactly, but basically a sour wheat beer with some salt. Well, this kind of reminds me of a goza, just not a sour goza, just a funky goza, like a goza saison mixture. There's almost a peppery taste to it. You are getting some tannin from the wood. The finish on your mouth, the finish on your tongue is that of like chewing on a stick. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I actually love barrel-aged beers, so that stick chew tannins in the back of your mouth is a beautiful taste for me. Yeah. Fruity? Not really. Grapes? Yeah, I could see some grapes. Not the sweetest grapes though. Mostly, you know when you get your grapes and they've been in the fridge too long and they're kind of soggy and you're eating them, you just get that kind of like odd fruit taste with slight like fruit skin tannin. That's what I'm getting from it. Is it bad? No, it actually mixes with the beer really nicely. Yeah, I'm just pretending that didn't happen. It mixes with the beer really nicely. I mean, the beer is grainy, very light, kind of funky. Grainy. When I say light, I'm not talking about mouth. Your mouth, the texture, the mouthfeel is medium bodied, but this is a grainy, light tasting, kind of funky, kind of tanniny wheat beer. Is it bad? No, not at all. So I guess that might be what they're talking as the tartness. You get this slight sweetness at the forefront, which is your malts. That slight sweetness fades really quickly to like that grape taste I was talking about, kind of grape skin, slight fruitiness. You get the funk coming right after, which I think might be where they're talking about the tartness. When you're mixing between the malts, the fruit and the funk, that's probably where they're coming with tart. I guess people could call that tart. I don't really find it that myself, but to each their own. From that funkiness, you go into the end, which is grainy, a little bit more grape, and then the wood tannins that you just chewed on a stick type thing in the back of your throat. All in all, here's what I've got to say about this. I've never had a beer from Wellington that I hated. Never. Wellington's always made good beers, acceptable beers, and beers at a fairly good price. I've had a lot of beers from Wellington I've liked. Now, up until the last three I've had, the ones I've had from them were fairly meh. I mean, there was the pomegranate one, and there was the Griffin Gold. I know why the Griffin Gold was meh. I get it. The pomegranate it's a really hard fruit to use for anything. I mean, think about it. You're just eating those little tiny seeds, and there's not much juice on the little flesh around those tiny seeds. So I get why that went the way it did too. But I had those two beers. They were acceptable, but they were what I expected from Wellington. Just there. I mean, just there and acceptable. Then I had the Put Up Your Dukes, the Carved Out Pumpkin, and this. And these revive for me Wellington as one of the great breweries of Ontario. I mean, almost 30 years later, they're still making good beer, and they're still pushing the boundaries on some things. I mean, this is stuff that has been done by other breweries in the past. I mean, wine barrels, barrel aging, other things. Put Up Your Dukes is basically just a barrel aged version of the Iron Duke, but the Iron Duke was made in a way that it added to that barrel added to it greatly. I just love the way this stuff has turned out. I wish I could have gotten the other 29th anniversary beers. I didn't, but whatever. Whatever happens, and that's just the way it was. I'm excited for what I got to try. I really enjoy this beer. I hope that everybody that wanted to try it was able to get a bottle and try it. And I know that when this video goes up, it's probably going to be too late for anyone to get a new bottle. But you never know when Kevin and the guys are going to make another bottle of Winey Crank. This beer is nice. I think what it needed was a little longer in the barrel to bring out more flavors. Because the base beer, if it is the silver wheat like I think it is, it's fairly nonchalant and would have picked up a lot more flavors. That being said, out of 10 on this, I would give this a solid 8.25. A solid 8.25. There's nothing wrong with this. It's a good beer. I'm very appreciative of Colgate for picking this up for me. Thank you very much, guys, for watching. Have a wonderful night.